have a good opening line. And no, I don't mean like, come here often. And I don't even mean enjoying the show or, what brings you here today? I mean, those kinds of things. And is that what you hear a lot from exhibitors? The most common, hey, how you doing? Can I help you? Do any of those things move the conversation forward? No, not really. Enjoying the show?
Yes, no.
Yes or no? Exactly. First of all, it's a yes-no question. You want to avoid that. But second of all, it's like, what if they tell you no? Then what do you say next? I'm sorry. It really, there's no forward progress. All right, let's talk about probing and qualifying. We've kind of hit on this earlier, but you should spend 80% of your time listening and only 20% of the time talking. So now, how many times have you had a conversation with somebody where they did all the talking and you get done and they start to walk away and they go, boy, it was so good talking with you. And I always just laugh because I think, okay, I'm glad you like to talk to me because I didn't talk to you very much. But they love that because I listened. And so many times, how many times have all of us felt like nobody was listening? So just for them to come through your booth and feel like they had, even if it's just venting, and they feel like it was just an opportunity that they can really complain about their frustration with whatever product that they've been using or whatever, it makes you that much more approachable to them because you listened and you cared. This is a sample lead card. You've got a copy of that in your workbook as well. But again, if you're using the badge swiper and you get the little printout, you don't necessarily need a separate card. Just understand what some of these questions are and how you can just take notes on the back. I always just say, do you mind if I jot that down, or do you mind if I take some notes? And I've never had anybody go, no, you can't write any notes about what I say. They're going to be impressed that you're that detailed and you're trying to make sure that you got all their information down. The other thing I would say too, when you're taking those notes, jot down anything. Maybe not even at the moment you're talking to them, but as soon as you're done, go over and maybe make some extra notes. I've written down things like, Joe says he's going on vacation to Jamaica next week. Then when I follow up, I go, hey, how was Jamaica? I had people tell me about their kids, their dog, that they're in the process of moving, they just bought a new house. I write any of that down. Because when I follow up, and I mention something about, so did you get all settled in the new house? They think I remembered that. They don't realize that I've got my little cheat sheet, but they're so impressed with the fact that first of all, I took time to listen, and second of all, that I cared enough to ask later. So it just really, again, it goes back to that whole reassuring them that you care and you listen, and that they're important. Because, let's face it, the kind of high-pressure, fast-paced world that we live in, don't we often feel like we're just a number and nobody's really connecting with us? So I think if you can make that impression with them, now again, if you're handing the lead card off to somebody else, that's not really going to help. But if you're the one to actually do the follow-up, any kind of extra little, personal connection information helps. What percent of leads, and again, this is not for your show specifically, but this is for, throughout the trade show industry, they've done studies. What percent of leads do you think are not followed up? 70? Okay, we got an optimist up here that says 50. You're actually close, 80%. Which my answer to that is, why did you bother to go? And I look at, I would not have believed this had I not heard it from so many different sources. Would you believe how many times I've had exhibit houses tell me they get rentals back with the lead cards in the case? I've heard it from different exhibit houses across the country, so I know it's a common occurrence. But it's, and again, I wonder, is it part of the problem that the person who is gathering leads is not the salesperson who follows up? I mean, I'm guessing that's probably, because I don't know why, if you were the one responsible, why you would ever do that. But you know, I just can't imagine. And then I'm sure that they're probably getting grief from their company. It's like, well, why did we pay to go to that show? That was a waste of money. We didn't even get anything. Well, hello, you didn't even keep track of your lead cards. But it's just, you know, thinking it all through. Like I said, it's not rocket science, but it's a process. And there's steps that you need to think about as you go along. And I think so many of us, especially, you know, if you've been exhibiting for years and years, you know, and especially if you've done the same show over and over, we kind of tend to get in a groove. You know, we think we know exactly what we're doing. And, you know, sometimes it's just simple little things. Like, you know, were we really featuring the right products? Was that what people were looking for? You know, that could have made the whole difference for your show. If you feel like you didn't get the kind of traffic that you wanted, maybe it was because there was something in particular that people were really looking for that you missed. So it's not always the big stuff, and it's not always the expensive stuff. I think exhibitors tend to think, oh, if we would have just got a bigger booth, or if we would have had a fancier display, it would have made so much difference. And I can tell you, a lot of the times when I've done exhibiting, most of the times when I've done exhibiting, I've done it in a 10 by 10 or 10 by 20. Sometimes I've dealt with clients that had next to no budget, and we got really creative, and we borrowed props, and, you know, set up a clever little booth, a themed booth, you know, that didn't cost a whole lot of money, but we got great traffic. And why? Because our people were trained, and they knew what to do, they knew what to say, they knew what not to do. Like I said, they didn't get chairs. And it's all about meeting the people and listening to them and engaging them and answering the questions that they have, and not just trying to you know, force them into something.